All right, you guys, so this is our second lesson on similar shapes. Last video we learned that shapes are similar if all angles are congruent and sides are proportional, so we're definitely going to use that today. And remember that if I use this little symbol right here, that means that the shapes are similar. So you don't have to guess whether they are or not. So the little symbol means that they are similar, okay? This shape is obviously just a bigger version of this shape, okay? And the first thing it says is that shapes are similar, angles are congruent. So all the angles have to be congruent. So I noticed that, these are both marked 90. If this one's 25, okay, that means that this one has to be 25 also, okay? So angle measures do not change even when you change the size of the shape. Okay, and then if those are 25, then you could use triangle sum. 180 minus 90 is 90, okay, and then minus 25 is 65. So this angle is 65 and this angle is 65, okay? So we can already fill in all that stuff. Okay, and then this is important. When we have a unknown side, so see that's an X, okay, what we have to do is we have to do something called set up a proportion. And when you set up a proportion, you have to be super consistent about where you put the number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write big on the top and small on the bottom. And that's completely optional, by the way, like small over big also works. But I'm just going to write that as a reminder. So this is what matches up. This side is proportional to this side. They're both the base of the triangle. The big one is 5, the small one is 4. Okay, proportional means that the ratios are the same. So the big ratio on the hypotenuse is X. I don't know that. But on the small one, I do know it. It's 6. So the big one is the 5 and the X. The small one is the 4 and the 6. And notice how I set it up so that these two are together as a fraction. These two are together as a fraction. And then you just solve this by cross multiplying to get your answer. Okay, so when you cross multiply, you multiply across. So 5 times 6, and you set it equal to 4 times x. Okay, divide by the number in front, and you get 15 over 2 reduced, or 7.5. Which means that this missing side right here is 7.5. Okay. Which makes sense because it's bigger than this one. Okay, and now they're all proportional. Okay, all right, let's do that again. Okay, let's do this one first. Okay, so this one I have two rectangles. I told you they were similar. We don't have to find the missing angles because they're all obviously 90. Okay, and when you set up a proportion, the small one's first this time. So even though it doesn't matter, this one I'm going to do small over big just to show you that it doesn't matter. Okay. All right, so the small one is 2. The big one's corresponding side is 3. So small over big would be 2 to 3. Okay, the small one has a side of 4. The big one has a side of y. Okay, so the thing that's really important is that the small numbers 2 and 4, 2 and 4. The big numbers are 3 and y, and those are, you have to be really consistent about that. Okay. All right, when you solve, you cross multiply. So you do 2 times y equals 3 times 4, divide, and you get that y equals 6. And then just check your shape to make sure that makes sense. Okay, this right here is a 6, which is bigger than the 4, so that makes sense. Okay, all right, we're going to do one more problem. This is a trapezoid. Okay, a couple things you have to remember about a trapezoid. You do have one of these in your homework also. Is remember in a trapezoid by definition, okay, these sides are parallel. And see how I marked them parallel? Okay, so these are parallel. Okay, and then I don't know if you guys remember this. It's been a while, but this was something we learned together when we were in class, is that these would be same side interior angles. If lines are parallel, same side interior angles are always supplementary. So by me giving you that this is 50, you guys know that this is 130 because these two have to add up to 180. Okay, same thing over here. If I give you that this is 35, these two have to add up to 180, and so you get 145. Okay, now these aren't the same. Like this one's not 35 unless it's an isosceles trapezoid, but because these shapes are similar, these angles have to be the same. So if this is 50, this is 50. If that's 130, this one's 130. If that's 145, this is 145. And if that's 35, that's 35. So you can use the shape that's similar to it to find your missing angle measures, okay? And remember, they all have to be the same. These two have to add up to 180. These two have to add up to 180. And all of them together add up to 360. Okay, so when you set up your ratio, like I said, it doesn't matter. I usually just do whatever one comes first. So the big one comes first, the small one comes second. Okay. All right, I have quite a few unknowns in this one. Okay, let's go ahead and solve for x first. Okay, so you have to compare. I don't know both of these. I don't know both of these, but these two I both know. One's 18 and one's 12, so that's what you use as your ratio. The big number is 18, the small number is 12. I'm trying to find x, which is part of the big one, and that corresponds to 16. Okay, so that's how you set up a ratio to solve for x. To solve, you cross multiply. Okay, so you get 18 times 16, which is 288, equals 12 times x. Divide by 12, and you get x equals 24. So now we know that this number right here equals 24. It is bigger than the 16, so that makes sense. Okay, but on this problem, we actually have one more thing to solve for. So there's a z down here, okay? So let's set up our ratio again, okay? Let's be consistent and be big to small, okay? We know that these two are the corresponding sides, the 18 and the 12. The z, let me use a different color for that, hold on, okay? The z corresponds with the 30, okay? But remember the 30 is the big one, so that one has to go on the top. And the z is the small one, so that one has to go on the bottom, okay? All right, and then to solve, you cross multiply. So we have 18z equals 12 times 30. 12 times 30 is 360. Divide by 18, and you get that z equals 20. Okay, all right, you guys. So there's only 3 examples. If you need more examples, ask me in Zoom. Come to my office hours and we can go over more problems. Okay, see you in class. Bye. Well, in Zoom class. Bye.